What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam. This is Vancity Audi, and we are back at Stratified Automotive Control, partnered with Dale's Auto Service to show you guys the air intake comparison on the Mark 8 GTI. Now, today would not be possible without the partnership here in Surrey, British Columbia, without Stratified Automotive Control. We're going to be using their Mark 8 GTI tuned with their Stage 1 E40 software. Made a bunch of power and torque on the dyno if you guys checked out the last video where we compared intercoolers here at their facility. So thank you very much to Stratified. I just wanted to also let you guys know that this car is equipped with a Cobb catback exhaust and a CTS Turbo intercooler. Those are the only two performance mods on this car as we do this intake comparison. And secondly, I'd like to thank Dale's Automotive Service located in Langley, British Columbia. This would not be possible without them. They're lending us their amazing technician, Ryan. They are going to be doing the installs and the uninstalls of all of the air intake systems today. They are a local company to me that have handled all of the performance alignments on all of my vehicles, including my RS3 race car. They are a fantastic bunch of guys and do excellent work on all makes and models. So now that you guys know who is making this video possible, we have to talk about who has entered this comparison. I asked the same companies that helped with the tuner battle from the start, and today we have APR joining us with their intake system. We also have 034 with their intake system. And lastly, I invited CTS Turbo to come back because they helped out with the intercooler challenge. They're a local company and I wanted to see what they could do as well. So what you guys will notice with a couple of these intakes is you can run them as an open intake or as a closed intake. For example, APR's intake, you can purchase this lid separately. So you can either run it as a closed configuration or an open. We will be dyno testing both variations today to see if it makes any difference whatsoever in power and torque on the dyno. And whether or not it's supposed to be run as an open or closed configuration, I'm not sure, but CTS Turbo does have the ability to run it without that plastic piece on top of the box. So we'll do it with and without to see if it makes a difference as well. Now, in terms of testing these air intake systems, I also wanted to include a turbo inlet because they're such an easy and quick and, for the most part, inexpensive modification to make. So 034 Motorsport and CTS Turbo do offer the additional parts, but the air intake system for APR comes with their turbo inlet included, so you don't need to purchase an additional part from APR. They say this does the job just fine. Another difference between these air intake systems is 034 stands apart in the terms of the air intake duct. If you want this duct from 034, you have to buy that separately, unlike CTS Turbo and APR, which comes with them when you buy their system. So you guys have seen all the cool aftermarket intakes that we're going to be testing today. Now I'm going to show you guys the stock air intake system and something that we've noticed and something that I want to bring to all of your attention. So a big difference with the stock air intake system is the intake duct itself. What you'll notice is on the driver's side of the intake duct, it's actually closed. No air can get through there. Whereas on the opposite side, that's where air comes through. You'll notice on all the aftermarket ducts, both sides are open, allowing for much greater airflow. So today we're going to see just how much of a restriction this stock airbox is on a Mark 8 GTI. And now a little about the dyno here that they have at Stratified Automotive Control. This is a Mustang all-wheel drive dyno. We will be using a very low smoothing level. I think it's of about 6 to 8. We're also going to be using DynoJet calibrated numbers, which means we're going to take the Mustang dyno numbers and do a little bit of a calibration so they read closer to DynoJet because that seems to be the industry standard for North America. I'm also going to mention these numbers are uncorrected. So we put our pea-sized brains together to figure out the best way to compare these air intake systems, and what we came up with is doing 3 back-to-back-to-back runs just like we did with the intercooler comparison. Then we're going to show you guys the highest run that we are able to achieve in terms of wheel horsepower and wheel torque. Now, just like the intercooler comparison that we did here at Stratified, we expect the power to be huge today. You can see my breath. It is freaking cold again. The temperature is cold. The density altitude is even lower than it was for the intercooler comparison. So we expect to see some huge numbers at a Stratified Stage 1 E40 tune with their Mark 8 GTI. But now that we've finished those runs with the stock intake, we're gonna give you guys a few free revs. Now, why we're doing this is because we all know we like modifying our cars with air intakes, not only to make a bit more power, but a lot of you out there simply to sound better. So after we've performed our 3 runs for each of these intakes, we're gonna give you guys some sound clips so you can hear what they sound like as well. So guys, I wanted to make something very clear. I take full responsibility for this. I screwed up. When I unboxed all of the 034 stuff, I'm pretty sure I accidentally threw away a bag of hardware. We were missing these bolts and we were missing these clamps for this hose. I can't put that on 034. I gotta be honest with you guys. I think I was the one when I was dumping it all out. I think I may have thrown that away. It worked perfectly for what we're doing today. That is not gonna disturb performance by any means. I just wanted to let you guys know when we're showing you the up close shots that it would have come with hardware here and it would have come with hardware here, which would have made it a tad bit prettier. 034 runs are done, and what did we make for wheel horsepower and wheel torque? We made 360 wheel horsepower and 418 wheel torque. We saw gains of 6.5 wheel horsepower and just over 6 wheel torque. What you're going to see is the majority of power though was gained from the mid-range and up. Not as much in the lower portion of the run, but up top, you can definitely see a gain in both. So now that Ryan has fully completed the install of the CTS Turbo intake, he mentioned something to me, and I'm trying to be transparent with you guys, so I thought I'd get him to say it to you guys as well.
Yeah, there's quite a lot more pieces to the kit and just requires a little bit more finesse to put together, but overall it's pretty good.
Okay, sounds good. So a few more pieces to put together, but overall the fitment was still okay?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Good to hear. All right, let's see what the CTS Turbo intake can do. Final note to make mention, we are going to be doing multiple pulls with the CTS Turbo intake as well as the APR intake, like I mentioned earlier in the video, because of one fact: open versus closed intakes. We're going to see if it makes any difference whatsoever on the dyno. The first 3 hits are going to be without the plastic over top of the intake box to see if running a open intake, I'm not sure we're supposed to be doing this with their product, but to see if it makes any difference whatsoever. Then we'll close it up and then we'll run 3 more runs with a little bit of cool down time, and we'll see if that makes any difference in terms of power and torque at the wheels. So we did 3 runs with the CTS Turbo intake with an open configuration. Then we put that lid on for a few more closed runs, and what we noticed was we made more power with it closed than we did with it open. The best run accomplished 368 wheel horsepower and 411 wheel torque with the closed configuration. We managed an additional 14 wheel horsepower, which is over double what we made with 034's intake. What we also notice is, very similarly, the bottom half of the run was almost identical between the stock intake and this intake. Not until 4,500 RPM do we really see gains in both the horsepower and the torque. So something that Ryan brought to my attention before he went to install this APR intake is the fact that this really cool coolant line that they supply is supposed to go underneath the APR intake. But because this is not our car and this is Stratified, and we're not permanently leaving this on the car, we're simply going to leave this existing OEM line over top of the APR intake. So it's not gonna look ideal, but if it was our car, this would be tucked in. Marcus, if you wanna come and check this out, underneath. It would be tucked in nice and flush like that, so it's not sitting on top of the intake. So now that we've done those first 3 runs with an open box with this APR setup, we've put on the carbon fiber lid. Now there is an option to be kind of half open, half closed. There are 3 slots here that have these rubber inserts that we put in, so we're completely sealing it. We'll run the intake now with it closed and see if it makes any difference. Last point I wanted to make about this intake before we get going is we have this carbon fiber lid, which we love the look of, but APR does also offer a forged carbon lid, which in my opinion, very subjective, looks even more badass. But we opted for the carbon fiber because the forged carbon was not available when we got this product from APR. You guys just got to hear what this sounds like while we're revving the motor with this closed. Slightly quieter than with it open, but what we noticed was when it's intaking all that air, you can physically see the carbon flex as it pulls in as much air as possible. Check this out. Three runs done with an open configuration on the APR intake, and then some additional runs with it closed. We made more power than we did all day with that intake closed. What did we achieve? 369 freaking wheel horsepower and 420 wheel torque. We made 15.5 additional wheel horsepower and 7, almost 8 additional wheel torque with this closed configuration on APR. The difference being we gained almost the entirety of the run, heavily from 4,500 RPM and up, and a little bit on the bottom half as well. But some awesome gains today with APR's intake when the intake was closed. You guys now know the performance figures of these different intakes, but I know damn well that isn't why you guys always buy upgraded intakes. Also, for how they sound and how they look. So I wanted to give you guys my personal feedback, my subjective opinion on what I thought of what I heard and saw today. For sound, definitely gonna give it to 034. It sounded the loudest, and let's be real, it kind of sounded cool. Some whooshy noises, it was pretty badass. For looks, I personally liked APR's look, the full lid, and if I was to be able to get the forged carbon lid, that thing would look badass. So as much as I want to give you guys performance figures, data that you can compare, those are my subjective opinions on what we saw today with the different air intakes on this Mark 8 GTI. Well guys, that wraps it up. The Mark 8 GTI tuner battle, software and hardware. I am done. A massive, massive thanks to all of you that watched all these videos. This entire video series has been a blast. Probably the most detailed videos I've made, but it was a lot of fun and very, very interesting to see how all these parts performed to one another, software and hardware both. Another huge thanks to to Stratified Automotive Control and Dale's Auto Service. These videos would not have happened without their help. Thank you all very, very much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this Mark 8 GTI video series. That's all she wrote, guys. Back over to Audi from these days forward. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, take care.